Hello, my name is Ben, aka Nightingale TCG, and for the past 2 weeks I've been playing in two separate online winner box tournaments with UP Sanji. They're called Chinoize Cups. They're organized by Chinoize, an amazing member of the One Piece community where everybody can sign up. The tournaments typically get between 40 and 64 players, and in the one a week ago on Monday, I actually managed to get second place by going 4-1. So I thought for the one this week that was on a Tuesday, I would record my games and then commentate over them in the aftermath, analyze my gameplay, and potentially go over my thought processes in the moment in bigger depth. This is the list I've been playing for both tournaments, and I'm very happy with the state of it. The main thing I decided to do is that I would take the 4-cost Reijus out because I felt like with the addition of this 2-cost Pudding and the Stealth Black in order to cheat out 6-cost Sanjis, the 4-cost Reijus weren't as needed anymore. And I thought Jozu is once again a very strong card in the meta, so I wanted to find a way to reincorporate him back into the deck list, and I think he just naturally took up the spot of Reiju. Two things I want to talk about that might be a bit controversial for my deck list. First of all, I'm only playing 3 of the new 2 events. I think Stealth Black is an easy 3-off. I think a 4-off is just too much. You can brick with them in your hand in occasions where you don't have like 6-cost Sanjis or 3-cost Sanjis in your trash, and they just become a lot less relevant to use. And then the one I think most people disagree with the most is only playing 3 of this new Teardrops event. I have a love-hate relationship with this event. 50% of the time it's really good because we can turbo buff our Sanjis, and then the other 50% of the time it trashes me all the cards I want to see later in the game again. And I hate it when that happens. And in terms of its counter use, it's useful, but it doesn't come up that often where you actually have to use this counter event to get out of attacks. It's nice in the late game to have, and sometimes in the very early game against certain matchups, but honestly most of the time this just ends up being a search event. And essentially instead of having these 2 as 4-offs, I decided to play 2 Puddings because I like that they are able to dig deeper than this event, and at the same time they're another 1-cost body that we can bounce with Jozu alongside the Otama. Something else I've done is that I've taken out the 2k Terracotta, because this unblockable is nice, but it literally comes up once every 20 to 25 games or something. So I'd rather replace this with another Otama and another Sanji, which I can more consistently use in most games. The only change I'm currently thinking about potentially making to this deck list, well, I guess there are 2. The 2 changes I'm currently contemplating about making to this deck list is that I want to find a way to play another Usohachi. It kind of serves the same function as Terracotta in the sense that you get to get around blockers, but the thing is that it's specifically for the Emu matchup, and against Emu, the way you win the game is often that you just out-sustain them by getting your Sanjis buffed so highly, and it's not really by being able to put them down to 0 life, but it's more that they are on 1 life, and then we have to go for lethal through like both blockers while they still have 1 life, so their Usohachi is quite helpful, I think. And then the other change I'm thinking about making is potentially taking out 1 Let's Crash This Wedding for a 2nd Brochette Blow to help in the Mihawk and the Dofu matchup. But I think the decklist is super solid, and it's been serving me quite well, and I hope you enjoy the gameplay. And let me know if you enjoy this type of commentating over my own gameplay type of content. Because for tournaments like these, I would never really want to speak at the same time of playing because I want to focus on my own gameplay so much. So if I'd upload more of this tournament content, I think it would always have to be in that form. And personally, I also think that by being able to commentate over my games, I can go into my specific thought processes way better. And I feel like I can provide much more analysis in the specific game states. Anyways, that's enough yapping from me. I hope you enjoy the 5 games. Alright, game 1 versus Boa. I'm going to talk over these games because obviously during the tournament I wanted to focus on my gameplay as much as possible. My opponent had dice roll, he chose 2nd, which makes sense because Boa wants to go 2nd, and as Sanji we don't really care. In most games we just want to take away what our opponent's favorite curve is. So against Boa we would want to take 2nd, but with him having the dice roll, he goes 2nd. This hand is not good enough. We don't have a search on turn 1. Buff Burst is fine. It would be an okay backup hand, but getting searches is better. And turn 1, we are basically looking for Sanji and Buff Burst in the early game. That's the 2 cards we want. And then we'll rearrange our top in a way where we can see cards potentially later down the game that we would want to play again. So in this case, it's Jozu in the matchup. Now we just play out Sanji. We use leader ability to search. We try and find Buff Burst. We could think about taking the 2k here because we don't want to take too much life against Boa early. But I think Buff Burst is too good not to take. I'm deliberating on it because I also want to have like... The Otama would have also been good to potentially play in case we'd find another Jozu. But because we already saw 2 Jozus and we only play 3, I don't think that's a solid game plan anymore. And then we swing because we need to ramp after using our leader ability again. There are sometimes occasions where against Boa you can afford not to swing at the beginning or not use leader ability. But I don't think this is one of them. We just have to deal with whatever they can trigger out. And honestly, in this game, it's not that bad if they are able to trigger out like and go white, because we have a gravity blade in our hand from the beginning. We were fortunate in this case that he decided to counter. I don't think that is necessarily correct, but we'll take what we can get. Otama here is good just in case we do end up finding another Jozu, even though we already saw 2. But she's just a good buddy to get down. And then we can cycle just to get like our cards into trash. I'm debating here what I want to ditch. I obviously want to play Buff Burst this turn. And then the reason why I ditched the Wedding and want to play this Searcher is because this Searcher could find me the Jozu like I was talking about. But in this case it finds me Culverine, which is pretty perfect as well because we immediately get to bottom deck their 4-cost Boa. And now, because of what I was talking about with us having the Gravity Blade in hand, we can swing here. And I, in a way, kind of like it if they trigger here. Because then if they play something out on as a trigger and then on their turn they play another body, we can Gravity Blade both of them. He still decides to defend. He's being very defensive in the early game. It's unusual to see Boas do that, but we'll take it. I didn't swing into with the Sanji because I didn't want to lose it just yet. And I think I want to potentially use Stealth Black next turn to grab back a blocker Sanji, so I don't want to waste it on having to bring back our 3-cost Sanji. He plays Kuma, so he gets a very low in hand size, but also very big in hand. We search first. Unfortunate, we see our 3rd Jozu here, so that's not going to be a game plan anymore, but we get to pick Red Rock and bottom deck the Kuma, immediately getting rid of the threat. There's no trigger in the first life, which is lucky. We'll use leader ability to play Stealth Black to bring out the blocker, as I was saying before. And then we'll swing 5. Again, I don't mind if he triggers here, because same logic as before. Most likely, unless he plays exactly a Kuma, which is an 8-cost on the turn it is played, whatever he triggers out and whatever he plays out on the next turn could be Gravity Bladed. And if it's just one of them, if he would decide to play another Kuma and he plays out and he triggers out like a 4-cost buddy or something, then we could even Culverine it. Would only be unfortunate if he trigger out a 6-cost or a 5-cost buddy. But we were lucky again. He had no trigger in the first 2 lives. He plays another Boa, which makes me happy to see because I'm hoping he plays another 4-cost to again get back to the Gravity Blade. It's kind of it's my main insurance against Boa at the moment is this Gravity Blade and this Culverine right as a backup. Because if he plays 2 4-drops, a Gravity Blade, both of them, I can swing into his life, he triggers something out, chances are I get to Culverine that body as well. But he decides to Perfume Femur here to get rid of the Sanji, which I don't mind because I have Stealth Black in hand, so it is what it is. I want to find a way to use a Don here, so that I can minus a Don to use leader ability either on Culverine or on Stealth Black. Here I'm thinking about whether I should use Culverine or whether I should swing into his life first. Because if he takes the life and he triggers something out, Gravity Blade is there. And we are currently at 8 Dons, so we still would be able to use Gravity Blade, minus the Don to play out Stealth Black, bring back the 3-cost Sanji, and then still keep a Don up for either Giant or Konkase. But he decides to block it, which I honestly did not expect. But it's a fair trade, he takes a life away from me. So I'm using Stealth Black. I'm bringing back the Sanji, and I'm not in a smooth position here. Like, I don't have that great of plays. I think what I'm thinking about is I can swing, and if he triggers a 4-cost body, I can Culverine it. Sadly, he triggered out a 6-cost body, which is annoying, but I think we're still in an okay position. And then I'm trying to see if I can use the rest of my Don in an efficient way, and I'll decide to just swing 5 with Pudding. And he decides to counter that. I'm expecting a 9-cost Boa on this 10 Don turn. We don't have a Red Rock, which is upsetting. We should try and find another one, but we've used one early on the Kuma, which is not something I typically like doing, but it felt like in the game I was in a position where I should have done it. He's probably gonna just swing Sengoku into the Pudding. Well, he plays the Boa out first, which makes sense. He then reveals he has double 2k and a brick, which is important info when it comes to trying to go for game afterwards. He kills our Pudding Searcher, which is whatever really, because even if we'd find a Jozu to bounce back, we can still bounce back with Tama, which is a 2k. Here, I really want to stay on 1 life. I don't want to go down to 0, because that last card he showed me could still be a Perfume Femur, even though he's used one in this game already. So I'm probably going to end up, if he swings 6-7, end up countering with one of them with the Pudding, and then blocking with the Pudding on the other one. That's what I was expecting to do, but he decides to go into the Sanji blocker, which means I can simply ditch our 2Ks instead. I think I want to keep the Culverin, and like I want to keep everything else basically for all the triggers that he could play out. Start with the Surge. There's a Red Rock, which is brilliant. But we also have, it's not like the easiest decision, because grabbing a Sanji or grabbing a buff burst would be solid as well. And I do end up deciding on the buff burst, which actually surprises me in hindsight. I think it makes sense, because getting rid of the Boa, and if he then just plays another Boa, I'm not in that great of a position. I'm on a bit of a clock, and because I didn't end up using my 2-cost Pudding, I can just block the Boa swing next turn. And if he plays a 9-cost Boa to get me to 0 life, he can't Perfume on the same turn. So I think I just want to make sure that my hand size stays healthy in this moment. But it still surprises me that I ended up not choosing the Red Rock. But I still think it was the right decision. I'm swinging 7 here. I'm obviously kind of seeing what this 1 Don up is for. Seeing if he wants to, what's it called? The 1-cost event that is basically beige trigger my Sanji. That one. He triggers that one now, and he plays the 2k out of hand. We saw earlier that he had 2 2ks out in hand, and this is one of them. Which gives us more info about, less info about the hand in the late game, basically. We swing again, and he triggers once again. And the really annoying bit here is that what he's triggering is gonna be a 9-cost Boa, which means that he's playing out another Gorgon Sisters out of his hand, the other 2k that we saw. I might just skip ahead a little. There we go. He triggered out the other Gorgon Sisters with the 9-cost Boa, which is really annoying because I basically held up the option to Gravity Blade 2 of the Gorgon Sisters and then potentially Culverin the last one. But in this case, we still need to Gravity Blade. Or I'm debating on whether I need to Gravity Blade and whether it's enough to keep the 1 Don up instead of 2 Don. I'm also swinging 5 here because in the case where he would take this, I am considering just loading up on the Pudding and swinging 9 at his life. Because we are not in a great position. But he decides to counter out of it. So I'll Gravity Blade both the Gorgon Sisters. And then I'll Buff Burst, hoping to draw into counter, which we sadly did not. Still have the Pudding on the board, which is good because it's at least a 2k counter. But not having any other counter, we basically just have to hope that he doesn't have a clean way to remove the Pudding. Like Rayleigh. And then able to go for game. or that we draw into counter of the giant. He ends up playing a 4-cost Boa, which makes me happy because it means I'm not, or I'm less likely to be threatened for game, even though the 4-cost Boa is essentially free because he gets to put a Don underneath his leader, and then as long as he still has enough Amazon Lilies in hand, which with 3 cards in hand it's not guaranteed, but then he can put like the rest of the 3 Don onto his 9-cost Boa and his leader and the Gorgon Sisters. He ends up swinging 5, which means he doesn't have the 3 Amazon Lily cards in hand, and we counter out of that immediately. He then pivots again, going 6 into my Sanji, which I'll just giant to hope and find more counter. And if he'd have a way to remove the pudding, he would have done it already. Now he swings into Sanji. I'm just going to give him a block. And now I feel pretty good about my position because I still have Culverin in hand. But he ended up playing the Kuma, which makes our lethal swings a bit more complicated. A bit. It depends on what he has, obviously. I think I'm going to count, or maybe I already counted my cards in trash, because I think I can buff my Sanji up to a 9. Maybe not. Either way, I'm getting rid of the Boa, and then I'll swing 7 and just the best numbers I have. 7 is guaranteed because he doesn't have Don up, and he only has 1 card in hand, and I'm swinging 9 because that's guaranteed. And then I'm swinging 11 because that's guaranteed. And GG's. It was a bit of a scary game in the end there because of how he triggered 3 Gorgon Sisters, one after another, which left us with only 1 Don up and no counter in hand, but we still managed to pull through. Alright, game 2, Sanji versus Crocodile. We have dice roll. Against Croc, even though Crocodile I think typically wants to go second, I think for Sanji specifically, his going first curve is scarier. Because what we are worried about is his Missile Sunday. Because the way Crocodile wins against Sanji is not through 8-cost Croc. 8-cost Croc is easily removable by us with a Red Rock, but if he's able to establish a board with Missile Sunday and like Mr. 1 or Mr. 5s, etc., and he has these 2 big bodies alongside where he then gets to stun 2 of my bodies each turn with 8-cost Croc. Even if I remove the 8-cost Croc the turn after, it's still annoying to deal with. This first search was pretty disgusting, I can't lie. It was like two giants and a Concasse, which is never what we want to see, and I sent the 2 giants to the bottom, so I already know that 2 giants are gone in our rotation. At least they are going to be gone for a minute. He spends his turn searching and just playing down Miss Golden Week and popping it, and I think he played down another one. I think that's what he did. I'll play down Sanji and just use leader ability to put Concasse into the trash and draw 1 to hopefully fix our hand slowly. We luckily drew into a buff burst, which means that basically now we can play. We take the first life in case we want to play down Otama, because also in this matchup Jozu is nice to bounce back Mr. 1s. And here's our first Red Rock, which is good. Annoyingly, we immediately see our second Red Rock, and I think it's very important that we have both in this game, so I have to pick this one up. I then play Buff Burst just to search more. Annoyingly, we can't grab Jozu here, and this one is a bit weird in terms of the search, whether I want to grab Wedding or Buff Burst again. And I think I'm deciding on Buff Burst. Yes, and then I'll play down a Pudding. And do I Otama this turn? I think I'm just playing down Pudding, because I want to keep the 2k in hand at the moment. Yeah, so I'll swing 6, play down Pudding, and pass. Especially because we already have the 1-cost Pudding down, so getting Otama down is a lot less of a priority because we already have a target for Jozu in case we'd find it. And we are not pressed right now to get any of our events into trash, because all the events we have in hand are good. We have Buff Burst for next turn, we have Culverin in case he plays a Mr. 4. And we have double red rocks for later on in the game for his crocodiles, or potentially even Missile Sundays, depending on how the game state is. Mr. 1 here is really annoying. The good thing is that he didn't have like Mr. 2 into Mr. 1 alongside Miss Wednesday, which means that we get to protect the Sanji. We give the event 2k from the pudding ability, and then we'll just ditch the pudding. And now we top deck above burst. We now play the Otama, because we want to be able to use one Don to use our leader ability. We play buff burst right after, hoping to find something else. Mainly what we're looking for is more Sanjis. I'm thinking about grabbing Brochette Blow here, because Brochette Blow is very good into Missile Sunday on the turn after, but I think it's more important to establish another Sanji. So I'll grab that, I'll play Sanji, I'm gonna try and get rid of Mr. 1 here. And then I'll swing 5 at leader. And pass. He's on his 7th on turn, so I'm expecting a Missile Sunday into another Mr. 1. Which is annoying, because he can also play a Miss Wednesday, which I know he has in trash. Which he does here. He's gonna pop the Mr. 2. Reduce our Sanji. Well, it doesn't really matter. Reducing the other Sanji to tap that, and then reducing it, and we aren't able to defend that. So our priority now becomes to find a Stealth Black and bring the Sanji back. He's gonna search, he grabs another Missile Sunday and puts another one into trash as well. I'm gonna take this one, there's another Sanji, which is nice. But the most important bit here is to get rid of his board. He only has 4 cards in hand. We know one of them is a Missile Sunday, which means it's a no counter card. We're gonna red rock this Missile Sunday because we need to get rid of the board in this matchup. It's the most important bit, that he can't have a board on the turn where he plays a crocodile. So I'll swing 6 here, seeing if he wants to defend this Mr. 1. If he would have defended it, then I could have still swung 8 into it. And then he would have had to give me his entire hand, potentially, because he didn't leave a Don up. Now I'm debating whether I need to keep a Don up for myself on the next turn. And I'm deciding that I don't need to, especially because I have a pudding down. So I have a free 2k in hand. I also have a 2k from the Sanji in hand. And now he feels somewhat safe to play his crocodile, I think. Because I just red rocked his Missile Sunday. But luckily we have our second red rock in hand. So we can completely take over the game on this spot. I'm thinking here whether I can afford to take this life or not, or whether I should block with pudding. And I think I am deciding on that taking this life is fine, because he currently doesn't have pressure on the board. So we red rock the crocodile, we have a Sanji in trash, we just top deck the Stealth Black, so we're definitely playing Stealth Black. The question just becomes whether I want to go ahead and buff my board by playing 2 teardrops. But I think because they're already 7s, it's better to buff burst and just swing 5 and then leave Dons up. He has another crocodile, but these crocodiles matter a lot less now, because he doesn't do anything on the turn where he plays the crocodile down. And I can defend everything, and even if he freezes 2 Sanjis, because we have a 3rd Sanji down now, we are still the ones who have the pressure. Obviously, would we love to bottom deck and red rock this crocodile as well? Sure. But we're in an okay position. So he freezes our 2 Sanjis and passes the turn back to us. He only has 1 Don up. And now I decide to play teardrops and buff my Sanjis up. Here we see Stealth Black and our 4th Sanji. And I think I'm deciding to grab the other Stealth Black and to play out the Sanji this turn. I'm swinging 9s here because it swings over Ground Death. I'm swinging a 5 here because it's annoying. And then I'm deciding to swing another 9 to swing over Ground Death. Because I don't need to leave more Don up than just 1 this turn. I don't have like Giant. I think Concasse is enough to essentially stay alive because he doesn't have a board. So pressuring him as much as possible is my priority on this turn. I'm first using Stealth Black to get Sanji out. I'm deciding here that it's better to play the blocker because it's just more safety. I I initially wanted to play out the 4th 3-cost Sanji, but we aren't in a position where we need to have the firepower on the board, because he can only ever freeze 2 Sanjis. I think this 8 I'm gonna block with Pudding, because she has done her job, essentially. So we're gonna do that. I'm also still keeping this Gravity Blade in hand in case he would want to go wide on blockers, like a Mr. 5 and a Mr. 4 or something. I can bottom deck both and I'm good. He plays Bentham, but by playing Bentham, he now has to make the decision whether he wants to pop the Mr. 2 and get a blocker out, or whether he wants to pop the Crocodile and draw a card and freeze one of our Sanjis. He decides on the Crocodile play. And now we have 2 active Sanjis that are very big in their stat line. We'll just go 9. He still has a Don up, so going 9s is best. Then we go another 9. And if he takes this one as well, we can debate on how we want to go for game. Because he didn't take it, we don't need to rush anything. We don't need to like swing 9, 10 and potentially lose the game by him having triple 2Ks. So what I'm going to do is swing 7, because if he takes 7, I can go for game guaranteed. If he doesn't take 7, then I'll just play another blocker, or I'll play a Jozu or whatever, or I keep Don up. It doesn't matter. I might actually end up swinging 9 because swinging 8, because 8 means I can swing 11 afterwards, and 11 is always guaranteed by 3 cards in hand. And there we get a win. Game number 3 is Sanji against Emu. This matchup, as I think most people know, is very, very tough. But with the new cards that we have, our game plan becomes a bit clearer. We managed to find the first step of beating this matchup, which is being able to take second away from Emu. And then the game plan becomes grab all the Sanjis you can, establish them, and buff them as high and as quickly as you can. So teardrops is a very important event in this matchup. So we search immediately 2 Sanjis off the top, which is very nice. We also have buff burst in hand, which is good. And he just spends his turn cycling and going 7 at us. We play Sanji, use leader ability to play buff burst, go 5 at lead. We're gonna search again. And because he only cycled, he's actually only had 2 cards in hand, cards in trash, and now 3. So there is a little window here where I could potentially Jozu whatever he plays down now. Because he only still has 3 cards in trash. I'm hovering over it. But he sadly finds a search event. Which means that he gets to search with it and get to 7 cards in trash, because the search event itself mills 3 and then his leader ability mills another 1, which is very unfortunate, because if we get to Jozu, one of his elders early, it's pretty strong. And now I'm immediately ditching to Jozu because I'm realizing I can't use it anymore. The main thing in this matchup as well is that if possible, we need to try to stay as healthy as possible. I'm playing teardrops here. I already used leader ability, otherwise I would have thought about putting the Sanji into trash and then stealth blacking it out. The annoying part is that we had to trash a giant. And here again, we see our second giant, but I'm maybe falsely prioritizing teardrops too heavily, because yes, I do need to buff my Sanjis up as quickly as possible, but I need to stay healthy as well. I need to be able to stay at least on 2 life, and most of the time I think I want to prioritize staying on 3 life, which means that 2 of our ways, well, one of them is already in the trash, and then the next one is now at the bottom of the deck, and we won't get to it for a while. But this is the route I'm choosing. I'm choosing to just buff my Sanjis as quickly as possible. We have to grab the event here because we can't grab anything else, and then we'll pass. The problem is that we don't have a lot of counter in hand right now. And if he goes with big swings, we will be going lower. I really don't want to go down to 0, but with him playing Jupiter and buffing his well, he's not buffing his characters yet, luckily, but the next few turns are going to be rough, and we weren't able to defend that 7. I'm searching here again. I'm taking my last teardrops because I want to just get there as quickly as possible. I'm going to play it. I'll grab the Concasse here, I think, because I'm realizing I need to be able to have some defense. And then I'll just use leader ability on Bruchette Blow to draw a card, which feels bad. I wish I had a 6-cost Sanji in trash right now already. It's pretty crazy that we don't with how many times we've teardropped. But it is what it is. And then we found another wedding. And here are our 2 next giants. But it's also our 4th Sanji. And it's such a bad choice. Like, the fact that all of our giants were always in a surge where we needed our other cards, like, more heavily in terms of teardrops or buff burst or Sanji, really hurts us this game, because we aren't gonna see those giants for a while, and we are currently also quite bricked in hand, so these giants would be good to cycle some cards out of hand, especially these Culverines. But man, passing on the 4th Sanji would feel terrible too. So I feel like we're in a bit of a lose-lose spot as well, and we are again in a position where we are with 0 cards, with 0 Don up, which means that it's gonna be difficult to defend these Sanjis and defend my life. I'm deciding to use a Culverin here to give +2 with the pudding ability, because I knew that it was gonna buff the Sanji the moment I would trash the event. And now it's just about trying to preserve my life. I think I took that. I think I should not have taken that hit. I'm not sure why I took that hit, because this pudding is gonna die to Mars next turn anyways. But I probably took it because my mentality was that with the amount of bricks I have in hand in Culverin and Red Rocks, I want to be able to use them as 2Ks. And because I know I'm not going to find my giants for a minute. So I'm going to swing 9 here at the Jupiter because I want to clear this board as well as possible. I'm not sure if I should have just swung all my swings into Venus, but it's essentially the same. He can block like 1 and then use a vent on 1 and 1k. I think it turns out the same way. And now I'm just trying to establish all my 4 Sanjis on the board. And I'll try to swing as high as possible into this Venus again by swinging 9 and keeping a single Don up. And just hoping that's enough to clear it, but obviously has an event plus a 1k. So he gets to reduce one of our Sanjis twice by swinging with this Nostro now and then swing with the one that comes out of 10 drop. And we are just not in a good position. This 5 swing is really annoying as well because I want to counter with pudding here, but at the same time I probably should block with pudding because he's gonna kill it with Mars, like I said. But at least this way I get to put another event into the trash, which might be worth it to buff all our Sanjis. It's also okay if he removes only one of the Sanjis here, because we have another Stealth Black in hand, but the fact that we're down to 1 life is just too bad. We just didn't find the cards in an order that we needed to beat this matchup. Or maybe I overly prioritize, I think, the teardrops in this specific game. I think it's usually correct to prioritize the teardrops, but I should have realized that I needed the giants to stay healthy. That we're just now in a spot where we're probably losing either way. Because if we'd have a giant here, I'd 100% be using it as well. And then he goes 9 and we don't even have a 1k plus Concasse in hand to defend out of it. And now we're at 0 and it's pretty doomed. Now my only hope is to try... I think I have like 14 cards in deck still or something. But my only hope is basically that I've cycled through my deck somewhat at this point. And these top 2, one of these top 2s is the Giants. But it ends up that both of the top 2s are 2 more Concasses, which basically means I've done nothing this turn. I now finally get to the top of my deck, and I find a search where my first Giant is back in, but I think it's just not enough anymore. And then use Sanji. I don't even have a 6-cost Sanji in trash, which is really, it's just sad. Because otherwise at least I could play double blockers down by playing Pudding and the 6-cost Sanji. But this way I'm basically just leaving like all the Don up right now, and I'm praying that I'm getting Giant into Giant into Giant into playing Concasse and hoping that's enough to keep me alive for another turn. Even if I would stay alive for another turn, I don't think I can win the game unless he whiffs on his 10 drop or something. But yeah, he swings the 7 here. I'm going to immediately use the Giant with the hope of drawing into another Giant and counter, but we don't, which I knew we don't, because I know how I stack my deck, but you know, I was hoping that I misremembered how far the Giants are away from each other. So sadly we are taking here. And despite him now going on to play his Elders, he's still gonna end up swinging highly enough by swinging a 7 here, where I can give my 2k 1k, and then swinging, I think he's gonna swing a 9 with Eam. Yep. And that's not enough to defend. And he was super, like, he had so many events in hand as well, so even if I lived this turn, I was not winning on the clapback. So the lesson to take away from this is I think that next time, even though yes, teardrops is important, I need to realize that Giants are essentially just as important. Game number 4, Sanji against Ace. This matchup is most of the time favored for us. The reason I say most of the time is because we still need to find a specific set of cards. And this is a solid hand to start with. We obviously want to take second away from Ace, but even if we have to go first, the game is playable. And the specific set of cards I'm talking about is being able to get a 1-drop down in order to use that to bounce with Jozu, being able to get a Sanji down to have constant pressure, that so if we get into a Jozu war, he's not able to remove my Sanji, and we are just bouncing Jozus back and forth, and I have 2 characters to swing with, well, leader and a character, and he only has his leader to swing with, so that he then has to get out of the Jozu war and decide to play the 10-drop Newgate, or decide to go wide, and then I can punish that with either going Red Rock, or going Gravity Blade, or going Jozu into Culverin, and that's how I win the game. So I'm searching for a 1-cost here desperately, and we found a Pudding, because we already had a Jozu in hand, which is really, really nice. So I was prioritizing here getting the Pudding down over being able to swing 6 at his leader. And then I'm taking a Stealth Black, because I will want to swing with these Sanjis at some point, and I just want to make sure that if they die, that I'll be able to take them back. And in the late game, they are just always good to have in case I get a 2k Sanji into trash. The only annoying part here is that we have to immediately go down to 2. And by having to immediately go down to 2, I am basically in 4-cost Pudding range now, which is super scary. I always want to... I don't mind taking the first life, but against Ace, I want to stay as healthy as possible. Honestly, against a lot of matchup in this meta right now, I want to stay as healthy as possible. I'm just going to go back a second to talk about the search I've had here. There you go. Okay, we go through his Yamato play again, where I take, and then this search is a bit tricky, but because of what I said already, where we have the Stealth Black in hand, if at some point I counter with this 2k Sanji. I can cheat it out with Stealth Black. And I also am like completely bricked with counterless cards in hand, so I just want to make sure that even if I don't keep Don up for this next turn, which I'm not gonna, because I will want to play Jozu, I have a card in hand where I can at least protect 6k into my life, or even a 7k, because I'll be bouncing back the pudding from the Jozu. And that's why I'm grabbing 2k Sanji here over a 3-cost Sanji or a Giant and so on. Because I know that on my turn, what I want to do is play Jozu, get rid of the Yamato, gain board control. And then, because I'm scared of 4-cost pudding, I'm actually playing Stealth Black here and playing Sanji out of hand, which is inefficient to do. But yeah, because I basically want to make sure that if he'd 4-cost pudding me here, I already have a board to play with. And all he could do here is, if he'd 4-cost pudding, is either swing into my rested Sanji and get rid of that, or swing into my life and put me down to 1, which would be scary depending on what card, like what hand we draw, where we can't reestablish a cycling hand or searches and so on. But at least we'd have bodies. So I'm swinging 6 here. Again, prioritizing the board over being able to swing 6 with Sanji. And here comes the 7 I was talking about. I did think it was gonna go into lead. I'm not sure why he like tries to get rid of Sanji here. Maybe he's just... It's not even like I have a Don up and he would assume that I could only Concasse like out of my life, and maybe I don't have a Giant and so on. I think the 7 should always go into my life. But he decided against it. And now he's playing Vista, and Vista is really hecking annoying in this matchup because we cannot... we can't get rid of it with Jozu. In this search now, I'm going to contemplate for a while about whether I want to grab this Brochette Blow, because his protection effect, yes, protects against KO effects, but it only does it once per turn. So if I Brochette Blow it and then reduce it down to 5 with the amount of characters on my board, with like my Sanji is about to take to 7 and my Jozu and my leader, I should be able to remove it. By just getting like multiple swings into it. But I do decide that I think the Giant is more important because it's more proactively usable. Because for the Vista, in order to swing back into it, I have to wait a turn. And I don't like the idea of being on the back foot here. And as long as, because I already have 2 Concasses in hand, as long as I have 3 Concasses in hand, and then as long as I also have the Giant, I can just counter out of these Vista swings, at least like somewhat consistently. And if I counter out of the Vista swings, and then afterwards he swings with his leader into my leader, I can just take down to 1 life, and then I don't have to worry about the double attack anymore. This search is annoying as hell. That's why I have a love-hate relationship with this event. Yes, it's good to buff your Sanjis, but man, do I hate that I have to trash a Red Rock here. Because I don't want to lose both my Red Rocks in my rotation. I just want to grab one and potentially get back to the other one later in the game. But in this case, we have to grab 1 Red Rock, which is, we can't lose both Red Rocks, otherwise this matchup, if he just starts playing 10-drop New Gates, and we'll end up losing that way. But we'll be grabbing the Red Rock, just in case he decides to play New Gate next turn. Then we search for Pudding. I think I'm gonna grab the 2k Sanji again. I'm debating about Culverin, because if he plays a Marco and decides to go wide, Culverin is nice. Or I decide to play the Searcher and just search more. That's fine too. I think I'm trying to get my Sanjis up to 8. I didn't pay attention just now how far away I am. Basically, if I hover over my trash and see the number, I'll know, because my entire trash is events bar 1. I'll use leader effect to play this. And I think I'm gonna still prioritize the searches. No, never mind. I'm not predicting what I was doing in the past that well this turn. So I'm just grabbing the defense, which makes sense. I just need to not die. I have like such a well-established board. These 2 Sanjis are never going anywhere. So as long as I stay healthy and not die, I will win this game over time just by having Giant, Concasses, and Red Rock as an insurance. So I'll just swing a bunch of 7s here. See how he wants to defend. Use leader ability now. After giving me 1 2k. I'll then go 6. And then I'll go another 7. I'll keep 3 done up. And now if he plays Newgate, his Vista would only swing for... Well, if he plays Newgate off event, his Vista could swing for 11. But, well, I guess he's not on 10 done yet. So yeah, his Vista would swing for 11. But he doesn't have event plus Newgate. I mean, he had event. I know that because he trashed it with leader ability. He decides to play Yamato and then into Marco, I think, to go wide instead. Which makes sense. I'm not sure whether I... Yeah, I revealed the red rock to him. Which means that he knows that if he plays a 10 drop, it's just gonna get red rocked. And then he swings this first swing into my Sanji, which makes sense. Because he just wants to load up on Vista and try to get this double attack through. Luckily, we have two events to count out of it. And here I'm debating whether I want to throw the Otama or whether I want to throw the buff burst. And I think I'm deciding on the Otama because with the buff burst, at least we can fill our hand back up next turn. And I'm very happy to see another giant here for the turn after, because then our position at the moment essentially hasn't changed. We have the same amount of counter and we just have to do the same thing next turn. He goes 8, I go 8 here. And I'll just pressure him as decently as possible. I'm like nowhere close to ticking these Sanjis up, so I'm just swinging 8 with them. I'm swinging 8 with Jozu now. I should have done that first, probably. Just in case he like triggers a red rock and the bottom deck's my Sanji, and then I would have a Don to put back that's already been used. But this way, I swing with the Jozu, and then I'll use leader ability to use buff burst. I have a blocker Sanji in trash, which means I can play it out with stealth black, which is nice. I go another 6 there. I have defense up. I have infinite amount of events in hand. The only thing I'm scared of is 4-cost pudding, and that's pretty much it. And even with how thin our deck is now already, even if he 4-cost puddings us, there's a solid chance we draw back into at least a counter event. He decides to Jozu now, and he Jozu's back my 6-cost Sanji, which is fine. I don't mind either way, and he's going to try to do the same thing as last time and just swing high with Vista, and we will do the same thing as last time of using Giant into a Concassé to get out of it. But again, the question of what to trash with the Giant is a bit complicated. I definitely don't want to get rid of the Red Rock. Well, I was thinking about whether I can afford to get rid of the Red Rock because he hasn't played the 10 drop, but I'm just deciding that it's too risky and I'm getting rid of the buff burst. When he swings 6 here, I'm thinking about, I think I'll take the 6. Or I'm 2K'ing the first one, and then if he decides to swing leader, I'm going to take that 6. Because, again, when I'm at 1 life or 2 life, essentially doesn't matter because of the Vista double attack. And now I'm in a position where I could potentially go for game. Because he doesn't have a Don underneath his leader, so he's not going to draw a card of the card he gets out of life. But I only have 8 Don. So I want to leave myself the option to potentially Jozu back his Jozu. If I feel like I'd have to. So I'm just going 9 and see what he does. And if he counters out of these like early swings, I can then afterwards pivot into swing into Yamato and just wait another turn. I don't need to speed this game up. Like, I do to a certain degree want to speed the game up because I don't have a way to establish a blocker on my board right now, which means that if he plays 4-cost pudding, I could die because random hands exist. I just saw him drop a pudding though. So I'm debating now how, what I want to bet on, basically. If he doesn't have a handful of 2Ks. I also saw him already use leader ability, which makes me want to go for game a bit more. But essentially, if I split here, and I go for game and he has 2k, 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 1k in hand, I wouldn't be able to go for it. So I'm thinking about, I've already used the Don as a thing, so maybe I'm thinking about whether I should like Red Rock the Jozu and clear the Yamato. I think that's the line I'm also thinking about, but then I also have one Don up, which I don't like. So I'm deciding on going 8. Because if he takes this one, then his hand literally has to be 2k, 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 2k. And I just don't think it is. So I'm going for it. Because I'm honestly more scared of 4-cost pudding than him having 4 2ks in hand when he's already used leader ability. And one of them is randomly out of life. If he wouldn't have taken this life, I would have gone into the Yamato and just left a bunch of Don up for Giant and Konkase, and I would have also still searched with leader ability because I think I still had that available for the 1-cost event. Final game, Sanji against UP Luffy. This matchup is actually quite similar to the Ace matchup, but it's less favored for us because if they play double big bodies on their 10 Don turn, so Sanji into Roger, it becomes more difficult to deal with because against Ace we can just Red Rock one of them, but if they play 2 of them, we can only Red Rock one of them. And then we'll have to deal with the other one in some type of way. Like sometimes it's still fine if he plays like one combo because he plays Sanji into Roger, we Red Rock the Roger, and then on the next turn when he swings with the Sanji we Brochet blow the Sanji down to being a 6k. And then we can swing like into his Sanji instead of his leader, and then sometimes we get to remove that one while Red Rocking the next body he plays out. He chose first. My typical game plan when my opponent chooses first is that I want to just find Sanji and buff burst for my first 4 Don turn, which is what I'm trying to do. I sadly find 2 Sanjis and no buff burst at the moment, but 2 Sanjis is fine too. He swings 6. I would want to stay healthy in this matchup as well because 4-cost pudding exists and his swings are only going to get bigger and bigger in the late game. But it's what we have to deal with. I'll then play the Sanji out and search with teardrops with my leader ability instead of using the Don because it's not guaranteed that I find buff burst. Obviously in this case, it's nice that I would find buff burst and I would be able to use it, but because I can't use it now, I will prioritize, especially because again it's teardrops. I have a love-hate relationship with this event. If I don't grab Red Rock is gone, and instead I have to grab Red Rock, but I also lose a buff burst and I lose a Sanji. Yes, the Sanji I can play out again with Stealth Black, but it still doesn't feel great in this position. So I just choose the Red Rock to make sure that we have double Red Rock in this game, and we swing 6 and ramp up. If he plays a Bonclay here, we have Culverin in hand, which is nice. There it is. But we're gonna get low because we still don't have counter in hand, and he actually managed to triple ramp this game, which is painful. And we have to take it again. I'm like a bit scared of 4-cost pudding, so I'm trying to dump my hand as like good as possible. So I'm playing a Sanji, I'm playing 2-cost pudding to get cards out of my hand, I'm playing Culverin to get cards out of my hand, and I'm gonna swing 6/6. And just like that, we're back to 6 cards in hand instead of the 9, and I feel a lot better about it. And the reason I feel comfortable swinging with Sanji is, first of all, we have a Stealth Black in hand. Granted, I want to keep that stuff back to grab the other Sanji out of trash, but it's still fine. Then we have a pudding blocker up, and if he plays Mihawk, then he's not going to play a rush body to like swing into the pudding. So there's a chance we would be able to defend it depending on how he swings. Obviously, if he plays Mihawk first, bottom decks the pudding, and then swings 6 into the Sanji, I can't defend it. But if he swings first, then I can ditch an event with the pudding to give plus 2k to the Sanji. He grabs the Giant of his first leader ability. And I'm just praying to not see Sanji Roger here. Because Sanji Roger is like... It's beatable, But it's scary because if he plays Sanji Roger on his first turn and then he plays Sanji into something else on his second turn, like if he managed to in the game establish 4 big bodies in a row, it's really hard to beat. Luckily for us, he only has Roger. And I'm gonna block this immediately because I don't want to go down to 1 life. I'm gonna then spend my turn to red rock this. There's no point with swinging with anything here. Well, I'm gonna swing with leader to ramp, but there's no point swinging with the Sanjis on board. And then I'm gonna just use leader ability to stealth black out the 3rd Sanji. And now, what? This is a weird surge. Do we have like, we don't have like another Sanji in trash. I don't think we need a 4th Sanji because next turn is most likely just gonna be another red rock turn. So I think next turn is just more likely to be like red rock, buff burst, and we wouldn't have an opportunity to play out our 4th Sanji anyways. So I'm getting rid of that one, and 3 Sanji is enough to win this matchup. We don't need 4. So he used leader ability again. He grabs Nami and actually places them to the bottom, which makes me... Which now, by seeing that he places the cards to the bottom, unless he like blind Sanjis into something nuts, I think I've already won the game. It's just a matter of playing it down. So he even just plays the Nami out. There's no big body coming out here, which is perfect. Like, we are so comfortable in this spot. Gonna speed up the game a little. Because blue-purple Luffy actions always take a bit. I'm just gonna Conquer Say out because I want to stay healthy. I think I'll grab the Giant here because I want to just have defense in my hand. I'll then use Buff Burst. And I'm debating on whether like I want to use any event to get rid of this Nami, but I'll just play Otama to cycle further. I'm thinking about whether I should ditch the Gravity Blade, but I'm thinking to myself, if he plays another Nami down, keeping his Gravity Blade would be nice. So I think I'm ditching the 1-cost Searcher here. And then just playing another Buff Burst for 3 Dawn in total. And then hoping that he blocks with... Well, seeing if he blocks with Nami in itself. I do end up getting rid of the Gravity Blade. Never mind then. But it's still the thought process that I had, that if he doesn't block with Nami here, if he plays another Nami, it would be nice to have the Gravity Blade. But I think I came to the conclusion that if he plays another Nami, I'm like ahead enough in the game to probably be fine with that. I'll then use Buff Burst. I'll play Teardrops to buff my Sanjis up to 8. We actually managed to buff our Sanjis twice in this turn, which is pretty neat. And then I'll swing 8s with them, hoping that I can make him block. I know he searched Giant, and I'm just basically waiting for him to use Giant here. He decides to use Pentachromic String, which is an interesting event. It's basically a different version of Bagua. I'm now swinging 6 because I'm assuming he wants to Giant the 8. And I was thinking maybe he doesn't have counter in hand anymore, and if he doesn't, then the 6 is really annoying for him because he'd have to Giant the 6. But for some reason he doesn't Giant here. I'm not sure why. I think keeping his Nami on the board is like somewhat important for him. And if his hand is that bad, then surely Gianting to get Cycle is better. But apparently not. He grabs Zoroju and places the cards to the bottom again. And then plays Roger. And now this is just a free game at this point. I'm red rocking the Roger again. My Sanjis are even able to swing into his leader now. I buffed them up to 9 in total. So I'm swinging 4 9s. I'm using leader ability just to surge, and I'm just grabbing all the counter events I can grab. And it's pretty done now. Like, even if he plays another Nami next turn, I can Jozu the Nami because I have the Otama down and the Jozu in hand. And he just gives me all his counter, and it's basically GG at this point. In the past, this matchup wasn't that easy, but I think with the inclusion of Stealth Black and 2-cost Pudding, like, a lot of those things have helped. But I mean, what helps the most is the fact that he just didn't see Sanji he didn't see a Sanji combo. He plays another Nami. but that's not gonna help him. He's gonna swing 7, I'll just concassate that. Don't even need to giant. And now I'll play Jozu, bounce an army, use leader ability, grab a 2k I think, yeah. And then I'll swing 6999 I think is what I'm gonna swing. Because I just don't need to hurry this game up again. I'd rather just keep more Don up and just play for another turn. Because I'm in such a winning position that it doesn't really matter. He giants the first 9, he then uses gear second. Swing another 9. He takes after pass and play for another turn. He grabs an Usohachi. Just gotta skip ahead a little. He grabs a Roger. He plays another Roger down and swings 8. I'm gonna giant it. And now it's GG's. Again, I don't even need to finish the game here. I can just play for another turn. So I'm just playing it like as slow as possible, buffing my Sanjis up to 10s. He giants here. Swing another 8, see if he wants to like use another event or something. He's got a 2k, 1k, and I just load up on the Sanji, keeping 2 Don up. Just in case for this giant. But yeah, it's GG's at this point. Yeah, that's how I went 4-1. This last game was an up pair for me as well. I was 3-1 here, and the blue-purple Luffy player was 4-0. Despite going 4-1, I sadly only managed to get 6th place out of, I think, 46 people or something. Whereas last time where I went 4-1, I managed to get 2nd place. And there I actually also won an up pair where I got 2nd place. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this type of video. Let me know whether you like me commentating over this game in the aftermath, or whether there's anything you'd think I should talk about more during these videos where I comment over. And I'm also thinking about potentially making this a regular thing, because I'm definitely thinking about, well, I'm definitely going to main up Sanji in this set, and probably the sets to come with EBO3 as well. So I definitely want to make a lot more Sanji content, but I also want to keep variety in there. So I think I might be playing these Chinoize Cups like once a week now, and if the games feel good to me, I'll turn them into a video. Just let me know whether you would still prefer me to talk about what I'm thinking in the game itself, but maybe then I'll be quieter, because during the moments where I really need to think, I probably go quiet. Or whether you think just me commenting over this is valuable enough for you as well. Anyways, I'll stop yapping now. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. And apart from that, I hope you have a good rest of your day.